for us to do a practice today that focused on banishing negative self-talk and negative feelings and thoughts, whether that's towards yourself or towards others or towards circumstances or whatever. And so we're going to use the yoga mudra for banishment. And so in this sense, it'll be banishment of negativity. And yoga mudras are just yoga poses for the hands. It's nothing crazier than that. So, and we've done a couple of those in my classes before, but I like it because it helps us kind of bring consciousness to whatever we're feeling. And it's really important to not ignore our feelings. And so, anyway, so I just know that if I'm experiencing negative vibes that I'm bringing into my body towards things or people or whatever, I know I'm not alone in that. Sometimes it's just towards ourselves. We're just frustrated. Or like, you know, we were talking just a minute ago about just specific injuries or things in our bodies that we're tempted to ignore. And so bringing some consciousness to that, I think, is a very healthy place to be. So, so we're going to start out standing today in Tadasana. So that's mountain pose. And those of you guys that are catching this on the line, those of you catching it on the internet, I'm Sarah Barker, and this is yoga. Bright and early. I'm gonna have to try to get up and see if my dog will stay here.
No, I'm gonna let you stay right here, okay? I'm gonna take my shoes off. You're fine. Stay. I just stay. Okay, so whatever. So we're gonna start out in that standing mountain pose. For many people, that's a comfortable standing position with your feet together, but for me, it's I like to have my feet spread out just a little bit. That helps. I'm gonna have to have this towel nearby. I'm so sweaty. That helps to keep myself balanced a little bit better. Get off the mat. Get off the mat. Get off. Get off the mat. I'm not playing. Stay right over there. I know. All right. So we're starting off that Tadasana pose, that mountain pose. We're standing basically anatomically correct. Those palms are forward, the hips are neutral, the spine is long, but your abs are not squeezing. Everything's a little bit relaxed but stable. Palms towards the front of your body. And if it feels good to you to close your eyes, do that. I like to have my eyes closed because it helps me draw in towards the inside of my body. Get back. Let's just go ahead and come into our breath, bringing our head space towards the center of our body, towards the breath, filling it up with a big inhale. And allowing that breath to exhale gently and slowly. Checking in with our bodies, noticing how we feel today. Notice what parts of our body are maybe sore or tender. Or maybe parts of our body that are feeling amazing today. Maybe you got a great night's sleep and you're feeling refreshed. Maybe you didn't. Maybe there's some aching or some things that are feeling not so awake today. So again, just trying to bring our awareness to the space that we're occupying on that mat. Giving ourselves permission to be wherever we are today in our yoga practice. Every day is different, every practice is different. And also allowing ourselves to let go of any expectations, any judgment of ourselves or others, or just anything that we've got that we're dealing with right now. We're just going to kind of draw awareness to it and then dismiss it for now, just for now. So let's take a couple more full breaths, really engaging all the upper body, inhaling big, opening up that belly and that heart. space for our feet to sink into that mat a little bit more. Maybe pressing all four corners of the foot into the floor and engaging that pranayama, that just strong lock of the feet into the floor. Noticing what happens when we put all of our weight towards the balls of the feet without lifting the heels. And maybe rolling outside the edges of the feet and into the heels only, but keeping the balls of the feet and the toes on the floor, just putting the weight to the backs of the legs. You might notice a little bit of leaning forward. You might notice a little engagement of the glutes to the hamstrings. And then just kind of finding that center space, rolling the shoulders up and back a few times. Maybe kind of bring those shoulders inward towards the spine, like you're trying to wrap yourself around the back of your spine. Good. And then rolling our wrists, maybe rolling the ankles, finding some movement in those joints. And let's take a deep breath in. Our arms are going to come all the way up over our head. Big lift of the hands, exalted mountain pose, extended mountain pose, and then we're going to swan dive. Hands come out to the side and on down to the floor for our forward fold. Turn to the side so you guys can still hear me. So your feet are still spread out here, or if you'd like for them to be together, that's fine. We're just going to kind of sink the shoulders down for a moment, and then take a deep breath in, reverse swan dive, coming all the way up, keeping the back flat, opening up that chest, lifting the heart center, opening up the heart towards the sky. Bring the hands around the back of our bodies, pushing into the lower back, into that sacrum, opening up the chest for a little baby back bend here. Little camel pose, little bitty one. And then hands come back up. Big inhale, swan dive, taking it all the way down into that forward fold. This time our inhale is going to bring us to a half lift, engaging the backs of the legs, keeping your knees a little bit bent here. Lifting up the chest and noticing what's going on in your hamstrings. You might not be fully awake yet, so just be gentle. Bending our knees, lifting the body up to an upward motion, deep breath in. And then let's bring those hands around the body into a little side twist. And then on to the other side. Waking up that spine a little bit. A couple on each side. Let's take another deep breath in, y'all. All the way up. Swan diving down, bringing it down. Deep breath in, half lift. And this time, let's go ahead and take our knees into a big bend and come up into our chair pose. If you want to bring your hands to that prayer pose, that's fine. Holding it into that chair pose. Let's warm up those quads a little bit. Maybe sinking into your heels some. And then bringing it up into your toes if that feels good. And then back into your heels. And then back into those toes. Taking a deep breath in. Let's come back all the way up. And then swan diving down to the floor to that forward fold. The crown of the head drops towards the floor. Nose towards the knees. Eyeballs towards the knees. I need for y'all to please look at what's happening. What are you doing? Disrupting my zen, Ivy. All right, maybe just kind of roll those shoulders down a little bit. See if you can make your body a little heavier towards the floor. If it feels good to grab those elbows with your hands, sinking that head a little further, tucking that chin towards the chest a little bit. Just have to touch the chest, but we're going to bring it inward. You shaking the head, yes and no. You lean the weight into the right side, engaging the back of that leg, leaning into the left side.
take another deep breath in. We're going to bend the knees just a little bit, lifting the chest to half lift. Okay, and now we're going to take our hands to the top two corners of the mat. Get a little hastamanya. Oh my gosh, I mean, seriously. And we're going to drop down into our downward facing dog. I'm emanating from you, though. You have to go. Okay, I love you so much. Good. All right, so we're in downward facing dog. Maybe just pedaling those feet a little bit, pushing the heels down into the floor. Then we're going to lean forward, bringing those hands underneath the shoulders. Long, flat back into a plank. You can drop your knees here, especially since we may not be warm yet. Let's lower the body halfway down, 90-degree angle with the elbows, chaturanga, low crocodile. And if you'd like to go all the way to the floor here and push up through the hands, just to get a little baby cobra, you can, or you can come all the way up into an upward facing dog. Legs are off the floor here. And then toes curl under, we push back to downward facing dog. Drop into our knees, coming down into our child's pose. Go. No. Alright, coming up onto those all fours, pushing the knees into the mat. Stop. We're going to roll that tailbone up, deep breath in, dropping the belly button towards the floor, opening up that heart center, opening up the throat. And then exhaling into our cat, rounding that back. Tucking the tailbone underneath us, pushing the shoulders away, going back into that cow, inhaling, opening up the chest, pushing the shoulders way away from the ears, rounding that back upward, all the way up to that cat. Feels really good to open up that back. Going into that cat cow, finding you a little flow here that feels good. Really engaging that lower back. Really put the emphasis in your lower back as well as your tailbone tucking under and over. And then once you restore balance to the body, doing enough on each side to equal, then we're going to take our tail and we're going to begin to wag it from the left to the right. So making sure that not just our shoulder and head are turning, but our hips are kind of rotating around to the side as well. And then we're going to go back into our neutral position after you've completed even amounts on those sides. Once again, check in on your elbows, making sure that our elbows are not hyperextended or locked out. They're a soft bend. They're almost turning to the outside so that you've got a nice stable base here. Knees are directly underneath the toes. And then we're going to begin to round and barrel roll that entire torso. So we're engaging all of the parts of the spine here, leading with the thoracic spine, so that big one in the middle. And really rotating, making sure that your upper cervical spine is moving as well. They'll be locked in your neck. And making sure that that lower back is moving as well. And then when you get a few rotations on that one, we're going to go the other direction. Sometimes, yeah, you might have to think about it for a second. We're
really dramatically pushing all four corners of the body away from your spine. And then once you've completed about the same amount, we're going to one more cat-cow, rolling the belly towards the floor, opening up that throat, and then rounding up to cat. All right, so now we're going to take our bodies. We're going to push back into that extended child's pose. We're going to hold here for just a moment. You can drop your head, you can stack your fists for wrists underneath your forehead if you like. Good girl. She's sitting for you, baby, so you can pet her. She's sitting so you can pet her. You must be hiding. So from this child's pose, y'all, we're going to bring it forward with the hands spread out. That's the motto. We're going to a big base with the hands. And kind of come into that kneeling plank. So just finding a little flow from the knees all the way to the shoulders. And once you've done a few of those, maybe you want to add a little bend in the elbows, teaching a little yogi push-up, stretching and strengthening at the same time. It doesn't have to go terribly low, but maybe you just want to engage that. And if you're feeling spunky today and you want to go all the way into a full plank and back into a downward dog, that's fine too. Whatever feels good. Find your little flow here, waking up the body. Alright, and then let's go ahead and come forward into that plank or that kneeling plank. Inhaling there, and we're going to exhale to crocodile. Inhale to your upward facing dog where you're kneeling, and then we're pressing into our down dog. We're going to take our right foot forward, holding that lunge for just a moment, stretching that hip flexor in the back, stepping up with that back foot to the hands. Taking a deep breath in, let's all reverse our swan dive all the way up. And then exhaling, taking it all the way back down. All right, we're going to step back with that left foot, and then the right into our downward facing dog. Coming forward into that plank. We're going to inhale, exhale, drop into crocodile. Inhale, upward facing dog. And exhale, down dog. This time that left foot comes to the hands. Long lunge here, holding. And then bring that back foot to the front. Reverse swan dive. Inhale, coming all the way up. Exhaling, take it all the way back down. Taking that same right foot back. And then into our downward facing dog. This time coming forward to plank. Dropping down. Crocodile. Upward facing dog. Back to down dog. This time that left foot's going to come forward. And we're going to rise up to a kneeling or a balancing lunge here. Long lunge. Bring it back down. Bring that back foot to the front. Reverse swan dive, coming all the way up. So finding a nice flow in your sun salutations. If you're feeling like you want to add anything else, add it. You don't have to stay with me. Stepping back with that same leg, pushing back into our downward facing dog. Coming forward, inhale the plank. Exhale the crocodile. Inhale, upward facing dog. Exhale, down dog. Beautiful. All right, right leg comes forward. Long lunge, crescent lunge here. You can drop your knee or keep it lifted. Sweeping those hands back down, bring that back foot to the front. Reverse swan dive, coming all the way up. This time, let's exhale into a chair pose, holding the knees towards each other, pushing the hips back, and then back down into our forward fold. All
All right, stepping back with that left foot, then the right, into our nice downward facing dog. One more time, coming forward to plank. Crocodile. All the way up or down. Thought on me, you didn't get it. And back to downward facing dog. Y'all, there's this horse slide back here. Woo. In the country, y'all, this is what happens. All right, let's drop to our knees. Give us a nice little child pose for just a moment. Grabbing what you need on your resting times. If you want water, if you need to towel off like I do. So from that child's pose, let's come up just a little bit. We're going to drop one arm, doesn't matter which one, all the way underneath us into a thread the needle. So we're dropping the temple of the head and the shoulder to the floor and lifting up that arm, or you can keep it stabilized, or all the way back, finding you a half bind here, maybe grabbing the thigh, grabbing the lower back. If you want a little more stretch here, let's see if you can take that top shoulder and open it up a little bit more to the sky. See if you can make your bottom shoulder heavier into the floor. Opening up that hand once again. Grappling back into that child's pose position. Coming out the way we went in. And then swapping out. Other side. Dropping that shoulder heavy into the floor. Head is on the floor. You can stabilize with that base hand, or you can bring it up. Let the weight of that arm open up your chest towards the side. Or bring that arm around. Making sure we're breathing here. Pressing into that shoulder, into the floor. Alright, and bringing that arm all the way back up, rotating back around, pushing up into all fours once again. So pressing into those knees, we're going to come up onto our knees. If this is uncomfortable for you, especially if you've got any kind of knee tenderness or anything like that, you want to put a towel rolled up under your knees. If you like. All right. Okay, so we're going to take our right arm, we're going to lift it up towards the sky. We're going to see what it feels like to press into that same knee just a little bit. Dropping our opposite arm, and instead of leaning over, just pressing down. It's more like pressing down but keeping our body straight. And then switching sides, arm comes all the way up, pressing into that same knee and reaching down with the hand. All right, releasing that back down. We're going to open up our chest a little bit more, taking the flat part of those knuckles, pressing them into your sacrum. We're just going to press gently forward. Our elbows are going to drop back just a hair. And without dropping our head, we're just going to kind of push the hips forward. So maybe play around a little bit. Let's see what it feels like to kind of lean forward a little bit where most of the weight is in the fronts of your legs. And then maybe lean back just a little bit. See what that feels like. See how that engages the core. Noticing the difference in the muscle groups that are engaging when you come forward and when you lean back. Feel like you want a little bit more and you're ready, you can drop back to those hands. Don't push it if you're not warmed up in that back. And then let's bring it back around. We're going to reverse that stretch by dropping back into child's pose. Rounding out that back. You can
can even bring your knees closer together if you want a little bit more rounding. All right, opening up those hands really big, spreading out that starfish hand. We're going to come up onto our knees. Toes are going to curl under. Let's push up to upward facing dog once again. Pressing into those heels, really pressing the backs of the legs into the longest length possible. Curling our tailbone upward. We're engaging the back muscles, really opening up into that back breath. So deep breath as you fill up the back of the body. All right, let's take our right leg. Let's bring it all the way up, stacking those hips over one another. Pressing into that bottom heel, so we don't want to be on our tiptoes. Rolling that ankle, maybe bending the knees a little bit. And we're going to sweep that leg all the way to those hands. Planting both feet, coming all the way up into a warrior one. As always, warrior one is for strength. We've got a strong base because we are strong women. We're pushing our heels into the floor. That back foot is preferably pronated towards the front a little bit. You can have it out at a 45-degree angle. That's fine. Just try not to have it out to the side. Both hips, chest is all facing the front of the body. The toes are leading the way here. So that front foot is leading the way. Pressing into that nice 90-degree angle bend in the front leg. Maybe you can see that big toe peeking out, maybe not, but you're wanting to make sure you're really pressing into the strength of that quad. Okay? So deep breath in here, opening up those hands towards the sky. And we're going to open up the body here to a nice warrior two. So here's where I want to engage our first mudra of the day for banishment. So for the yoga mudra for banishment, which is basically just Kairana, and we're bringing the two middle fingers into each other like rock star fingers, right? Like rock concert hands. And we're pressing that out. So your wrists are flexed here, and we're pressing out. So Kairana mudra for banishment. We're banishing negative thoughts. We're banishing negative self-talk. Any negative vibes that we may be experiencing in our day-to-day lives. We're pulling the ankles towards each other. So we're imagining that isometric pressure that we're pulling the legs towards each other, engaging the inner thighs. We're also engaging root locks. So Mula Bandha, we're lifting up on the pelvic floor, squeezing the glutes. Lots of things to think about. And then we're going to release, opening those hands, bringing them forward, and then sweeping them up to that reverse or exalted warrior. Back hand is dropping, just hanging out by that thigh. Front leg is still working. Try to get full breaths here. And then back into our warrior two. Straightening out that front leg for triangle. We're going to reach forward. The ribs are going to hinge forward, hips push back, and then let's come down into triangle pose. The top part of the back of the hand is pressing into the leg, while the upper arm is rotating up and back. You can open up wide here, maybe balancing on that thigh or that shin if you need a little support, finding a block or some kind of stack of books underneath you if you want a little help there. And let's take a deep breath in, lifting the chest, and then exhaling while we take it down just a little bit. It's okay. So if you want a little more stretch here, we're focusing on rotating that arm back. The upper arm is coming back and open. Notice what happens to the inner thighs if we start trying to squeeze our ankles towards each other a little bit. Take another deep breath. See if I can take you a little lower. Keeping
arms straight, listening to your body. All right, from here, we're going to bend the knee, bringing it into a nice ankle pose. If you know that you need to modify, you're going to bring that forearm. She cannot run. She cannot run right now. Stop, please.
I'm trying to think of it.
We got to get you ready for school. We're dropping that top hip a little bit, opening up the arm a little bit more. Modified angle is here. You want to continue on, bringing it on down that floor and holding it where we started. But remember that top hip is still pressing down towards the floor. It's okay. It's okay. All right, let's bring that arm around to the hands, to the floor, turning that back heel up, and pressing back into our downward facing dog. Pressing those heels, walking them out a little bit if you feel the need to. You guys can stay where you are. I'm just going to switch directions so I can. Something, y'all. All right, taking that left foot up this time, lifting it up, stacking those hips one on top of the other, pressing the heel into the floor, rotating the ankles, bending the knees. And then let's sweep that foot all the way forward towards those hands. Planting both feet as flat as possible, checking your ankles of those feet. And then we're going to rise up, all the way up to that warrior one. Pressing into those feet. Really making sure the hips are still square towards the front of the body and the chest. Opening up that warrior one. Bending of that front leg. Let's take a deep breath here. Opening it up to warrior two. Lifting the chest, opening up the arms wide, taking it back into that Parana mudra. Middle fingers are together, banishing those negativities in our lives. Those thoughts of doubt, those thoughts of I'm not good enough, or I don't look like I want to look, or people don't like me, or whatever it might be. Those thoughts are poison to your system. We're pressing into that, and we're really thinking about that, banishing that negativity. Now let's release those hands, and with it, release that negativity, reaching forward, sweeping up and back into that reverse warrior, pressing into those heels, squeezing up on that mula bandha, remembering tightening up the pelvic floor, lifting with the arm, opening up the side ribs. Full breath here. And let's bring it back into that warrior two, shifting the rib cage forward, pushing the hips back, straightening that front leg. Let's tilt it down into our triangle pose. Pressing the back of the hand into that leg, or you can maybe use the hand to support your body. Engaging the full belly here. So even the obliques, the lower back. Let's allow our breath to help ease us into this stretch. So every inhale, we lift that heart center. Now the exhale, maybe see if we can take it down just a little bit. Listening to your body, noticing when it says, yeah, no, not today. Let's not go there. And maybe it's just this one side. So for today, just listen and make sure you're not going further than your body wants you to go. Continuing that breath. And from here, we're going to bend that knee and sinking into ankle pose. Modifying that ankle pose by bringing the forearm to the side. Remember that top hip is pressing downward. All right, we're rotating down with the hand, pushing it back into that downward facing dog. Let's walk it out.
to our hands, however you want to get there. You can walk it, you can hop it, you can take a couple steps, float it all the way up, take a deep breath in, reverse swan dive, hands come all the way up, extended mountain pose, and bring it back down into Tadasana. So we can practice some balance today. All right, so we'll start out with our tree pose, putting all of the weight into our right foot. And maybe for today, your body is saying, you know what, we're good here. Or maybe with one foot on the block. Making sure that our hips are not cocked to one side. We've actually got neutral hips here. Finding that spot on that ankle, maybe even on the inner calf, maybe across that knee, maybe inside that inner thigh. Remember, never pressing inside on the inside of that knee. That knee is designed to go front and back. All it takes is one good fall for that foot to be in the wrong spot. It only, I think it takes, I want to say somewhere between 6 and 8 pounds of pressure on your inner knee to blow out the meniscus. That's not very much pressure. So stay away from the knee. Hands can come here, pranayama, prayer pose, lifting that chest. Or maybe we want to revisit that Karana mudra with the pressing out against negativity. We have a lot of negative vibes happening around us on our planet, in our country specifically. So we can overcome those negative vibes with positive thoughts. They just have to be more powerful and more persistent, right? All right, bringing those hands upward if you'd like to extend your tree tall. All right, let's bring that knee towards the front. And we're going to just kind of rotate it towards the back into a nice warrior three. Engaging the core, reaching with the hands. Neck is neutral here, leg is pressing away from us. Our bottom leg is bent. And then we're going to just gently rotate into a star pose. So we're just going to open up the body towards the front. You can always step down to the floor first if you need to. And then let's bring it back into a standing position. And rolling that ankle out, especially the one that was stabilizing us the whole time. And finding our balance for tree pose on the opposite side. So remember that that leg can be externally rotated out for balance anywhere on the mat, maybe even on a block. But just careful to notice if you're sinking into the hips on that standing leg, we want to make sure we're neutral here. Finding that balance for the tree pose, remembering no pressure on the inside of the knee, only on the top. And bringing those hands back to pranayama, opening up the heart, pulling the chest up. Maybe taking it back to that Karana mudra. Good vibes only. Noticing that if your body is moving, that means you're breathing, you're normal. You can wobble a little bit, you can even fall over, it's fine. Taking those hands all the way up. Deep breath in here. And then slowly we rotate that knee to the front of our body, release it from the leg, and extend it back into warrior three. Bring it back into that standing position. Shake it out. Roll out that ankle a little bit. Oh, sorry, forgot the star. Whoops. Go into star pose. Sorry, I disrupted our flow. And then back into our standing pose. All right. Rolling out those ankles a little bit, shaking them out. Taking a deep breath in, hands come all the way up overhead.
Bringing our hands to prayer pose, coming down into a nice bent knee position. We're just going to kind of gently roll over into a side twist and back up to the center. Hands are coming all the way up. Feet can be together or spread. Bring the hands back down towards prayer pose. And then rotating to the opposite side. Deep breath in, opening it all the way up. Inhale. Exhale, small baby side twist. Back all the way up. Inhale. Exhale, side twist. And on this last one, inhaling all the way up center. Then we're going to swan dive down to that forward fold. Hanging out here for just a moment. Head becomes heavy. Chin comes into towards the chest. Eyes are to the knees. Those arms hang. Bending our knees, placing the hands at the top two corners of our mat. Step back into our downward facing dog. Heels are pressing into the floor. Tailbone is curling upward. Armpits are pointed towards the toes. All right, slowly dropping into our knees. Now we're going to come down all the way, lowering our body into a lying down position on the belly. Keeping our hands where they are. Engaging the glutes. And then notice what happens if you squeeze your quadriceps. You should feel your knees come off the floor. Your feet are still down. All right, then we're going to lower the chest just a little bit, reaching behind us. Palms are towards the ceiling. Keeping your feet on the floor, we're going to take a deep breath in and we're going to lift up to locust. Engaging the lower back, squeezing the glutes, pressing the toes to the floor. Big breath here. And release. Exhale back into the floor. This time, maybe it feels good for you to go back to that same hand position. Or maybe you want to come out just a little bit into locust here. Opening up the chest, squeezing those glutes. And back down into that lying down position again. One more time. This time you can stay back in A-frame arms, or hands can be back. Or you can open them back up to a T. Albatross arms lifting up. You want to add the feet this time, lifting up, engaging that lower back. Notice what happens if you draw the scapular muscles down and back, like you're wrapping around your spine and headed down towards your tailbone. And then release. Bringing those hands underneath your face and resting your head on your arms for just a moment, taking a few breaths here. So we're going to bend one leg. We're going to reach back for bow pose. So grabbing onto that ankle, locking the foot in, or locking the hand into the ankle by flexing that foot. You can go one at a time here if you'd like, or you can reach back and maybe go for both feet at the same time. If one foot is up, we're extending the opposite arm. Taking a deep breath in, lifting up on the heels for bow pose. Taking several breaths here, pressing the knees upward. Notice what happens if you start pressing on the hands with the shins. Does that feel good? And the shoulders, hopefully. Activating those front delt muscles. Squeezing the glutes here. Bring those knees towards each other. And release. We're going to do it one more time just in case somebody is doing it on one side. We want to give you the opportunity to do both sides. So grabbing the opposite ankle or both once again and taking a deep breath in, coming all the way up. Heels are lifted, pushing those flexed feet towards the sky. Or maybe behind you, pressing them behind you. They're locked in, right? And slowly dropping it back down to the floor. Hands come underneath the chest, pushing up into a strong kneeling plank, and then back into a nice extended child's pose. Once again, rounding out that lower back, so maybe you're pushing your legs underneath your body here. All right, y'all, coming up onto our hands and knees into a seated position briefly for a little hip opener action here. We're going to take one leg, we're going to leave it in the front of our body. Take the opposite leg coming on top of those knees with the legs. Maybe it feels okay for you to keep that one leg on the bottom extended and the top leg bent. Maybe that's where you want to be today. Or maybe you just want to be in an easy seated position. That's fine too. So we're in cow face pose here. Knees are stacked. If you are finding one booty cheek is a little more elevated than the other, if you can sink that butt down into the floor, great. If you can't, maybe grab something nearby, a sweatshirt or a pillow or something, and kind of put it underneath that hip so you're still stable even if one hip's elevated. We're drawing up through the core, nice strong upper body. If your left foot, let's just say this way, whatever leg is on top, that opposite hand is going to come all the way up and reach back towards the middle of your spine. That bottom hand is going to come up underneath it. Maybe they touch, maybe they don't. If you have that strap nearby, or if you have I used a hand towel this weekend to do this stretch, because I was able to pull with the bottom hand and pull with the top hand instead of just placing them there. Trying to keep that head upright. Walking those fingers towards each other just a little further. Deep breath in. And exhale. Release that bottom hand. Release the top hand. And then release those legs. So again, we'll bring in one leg underneath towards the front of the body. Top leg walks itself around. Some people find it's easier to bend that top knee first and then bend the bottom leg back, but it's opposite for me. So whatever leg is on top, choosing that opposite hand. Bring it up and back. Bottom hand comes up underneath. You can grab it on this side. If not, you can grab a towel or a strap. Give yourself that extra stretch, and that tricep feels really good. All right, slowly releasing those hands. Bottom hand comes down and around. Top hand releases. Legs are going to come out to staff pose. And we're just going to kind of shake them out a little bit. Taking a deep breath in here, lifting up on the upper body, pressing into those sit bones, bending the knees. We're going to come down into a seated forward fold, pulling the chest towards the knees. So remembering the visual here that we want to come down in a fold rather than a curl. So upper body stays as flat as possible. If that means stopping halfway and just pushing that chest into your thighs, that's okay. We're dropping the chest to the thighs and then reaching towards those feet. Taking a deep breath in, maybe lifting up a little bit, rising up with the body. And exhale, let's sink down a little bit more. Take a deep breath in one more time. Exhaling, dropping it down a little bit lower. All right, drawing the soles of those feet in towards each other. Just kind of opening up the thighs a little bit, pressing those legs down towards the floor, keeping your upper body straight. All right, ladies, we're going to bring those knees in, and we're going to begin to make our way down to the floor. But before we do, if there's anything that you want to grab for our Shavasana, our final relaxation, go ahead and grab it and have it near you now so that you don't have to get up again. We're going to lower our body into the floor, bringing those knees into the chest, hands behind the knees, and let's just kind of rock. All right, so we're going to drop one leg, lifting up the other leg. Does not matter which one. We're grabbing behind the thigh or behind the calf, and we're stretching that leg towards the body, rotating that ankle a little bit. Maybe you're feeling like you'd like to stretch out that bottom leg a little bit further. And from here, we're going to take this leg, and if you'd like to bend it, you can, or you can keep it straight. We're going to open up the upper body, keeping it flat on the floor while we rotate that straight leg across our opposite leg to the floor. Putting your hand on the outside of that thigh or outside of the calf. Looking over that opposite shoulder, get a nice big spinal twist here. Using the core muscles, we're going to bend that knee and rotate back into the center. Bring that opposite leg up, stretching the back of that leg in this reclining leg extension. Remembering that we can always bend the knee a little bit. Flexing the foot sometimes helps make it a little bit more intense. Straightening out that bottom leg if you like. And then slowly rotating that leg to the opposite side, across the body, dropping it down, maybe putting a hand there for support, opening up that opposite side, outstretched arm, maybe looking over that outstretched arm if it feels good. All right, y'all, go ahead and use the core muscles to rotate back into the center, bending those knees, rocking that body a little bit. We are going to go over just a few minutes. I started a few minutes behind, so we are going to go ahead and make our way into our Shavasana, into that corpse pose. If that does not feel good to you, then find a comfortable lying down position that does. So you can be on your back, you can be on your side, you can be on your belly. It does not matter. However you want to be for the next few minutes. We're going to have a very short time of rest. I want you to just imagine sinking further into your mat. And because our theme today is the banishment of negativity, I want us to just positive thought our way into our Shavasana. I want us to really reflect on all the positives. And sometimes when we talk about gratitude, it's the same thing. We're thinking about things that we're grateful for. And a lot of times, situations that are super negative bring about amazing positive things. And so sometimes we just have to remember that and remind ourselves that it's worth that pain, it's worth that negative, vibe, it's worth that hurt to get to that positivity. So let's just close our eyes, sinking into that breath, finding awareness of our body once again.
reminding ourselves as we take a few last deep breaths that we have power in our thoughts. And whether those thoughts are negative or whether those thoughts are positive, they will win. So we have to control our thoughts. We have to control the things that we say to ourselves. Our body is listening. Our children are listening. Our friends are listening. So really choosing that positivity over that negativity, even when it's hard. Even when it's not just negative self-talk, and maybe it's something that's way bigger, that's way heavier that you're dealing with, way more hurtful. And choosing to think about only the positive side. So let's take a deep breath in and bring our arms all the way up over our head. Fingertips are all going to touch, keeping the center of our palms open, bringing those thumbs down all the way, pranayama, opening that heart center, remembering that we have power over our thoughts. Appreciate y'all today. Namaste.